Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and can I congratulate the honourable member for Hull, West and Hessel for securing this evening's debate and for the passionate speech by the member for Hull East. A number of colleagues were ingenious in their interventions. Certainly the member for North West Durham, because of Eldis in his constituency, and of course the member for Strangford, Waveney and North Cornwall. But there is one member present who cannot speak, as he is the whip in charge, which is the member for Mid Dorset and North Poole, who has Regal in his constituency. I am certainly aware, as Stratford-upon-Avon, as you can imagine, has some wonderful caravan parks and caravan holidays, and I urge anyone looking for that staycation, as the member for Hull East quite rightly reminded us, to visit, or at least have on their schedule, Stratford-upon-Avon. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank the Honourable Lady for the work that she does, but also those in public, private and community and voluntary sectors and partners across Hull and the East Yorkshire for all their outstanding work and support during this really difficult time. Hull and East Yorkshire, along with North Lincolnshire on the Humber South Bank, is one of the UK's most significant industrial and manufacturing clusters. Madam Deputy Speaker, the member for Hull East quite rightly reminded us of the capabilities from Siemens, Gamesa, and of course Ørsted in the offshore wind sector, and RB in health, and Wren Kitchens in the assembly manufacturing there, together with a really strong SME base as well in the region. It has really enabled the area to make real strides in improving the economic performance. Since 2010, for example, the employment rate in the Humber has gone up by 4.7%. There is undoubtedly, Madam Deputy Speaker, a bright and optimistic future for the Hull and East Yorkshire and the wider Humber economy. And the caravan manufacturing industry, with its long and proud history in Hull and East Yorkshire, can be an important part of that future. That is certainly how we see it in the Department for Business. Thousands of people are employed directly in the caravan manufacturing industry and its associated supply chain, as we heard from the Honourable Lady. These are important skilled jobs that make a significant contribution to the local and national economy. There is no doubt in my mind that the medium to long-term prospects for the industry are strong. The British public has a long-standing love affair with their caravans. They transformed the holiday habits of generations of families following the post-war boom in the 1950s through to the present day. And there are exciting new opportunities, I believe, for the industry with prospects of more families holidaying in the UK. The industry has shown that it can really diversify its products to meet the changing demands of a new generation that wants to have that wonderful caravan holiday. New modern luxury caravans, mobile homes can provide higher quality, safe distancing accommodation as we transition out of this current crisis. They can also provide flexible and, I think, environmentally friendly leisure experiences tailored to different tastes and pockets for decades ahead. The industry is also a major exporter, as we heard from the Honourable Lady, and is well placed to exploit new potential overseas markets. Now, I recognise, though, that the industry faces challenges in the immediate future. I'm well aware that large parts of the caravan sector have obviously furloughed workers, and regrettably some have been forced into redundancies. And for caravan workers and their families, along with many other workers up and down the country who may have been furloughed or been made redundant. Now, I recognise this must be deeply unsettling and worrying, and the Honourable Lady makes a very powerful point in terms of the interventions that we are making in the economy. However, in 2008, the caravan industry in Hull and East Riding was severely impacted by the financial crisis, as we've heard from the Honourable Gentleman. It bounced back, backed by this government's determination to do all it can to support the industry and its workers it can bounce back again. And there are early positive signs. Coachman Caravans in Hull recently reopened its factory following a temporary closure due to COVID-19. They have followed the government's guidelines in order to restart production whilst keeping their staff safe. And they are not alone, Madam Deputy Speaker. East Yorkshire-based Victory Leisure Homes is investing in immersive visitor experience as it looks to capitalise on the future staycation. We're listening to the industry too, we really are. The decisions by the Chancellor to take action on the rise in vehicle excise duty on new motorhomes in the budget demonstrated that this government is determined to maintain a vibrant caravan and motorhome industry in the UK. And MPs, including the Honourable Lady, are to be congratulated for highlighting the impact the proposed increase would have had on the industry. If I may, Madam Deputy Speaker, I would like to briefly set out the government's business support package, which is already supporting the caravan industry and its workers. The government is committed to doing all it can to support UK business through this current crisis. And the Chancellor has announced what I believe is an unprecedented package of support to help firms to continue to keep people on the payroll. The government introduced the job retention scheme, the furlough scheme as it is more commonly referred to. Since the scheme opened on the 20th of April, it has protected touching on 9 million workers, 1.1 million businesses through the crisis, including the caravan industry. On the 12th of May, the Chancellor announced that the scheme will continue until the end of October. It will continue in its current form until the end of July, and changes will allow more flexibility, which I know many colleagues appreciate, will actually come in from the start of August. This flexibility, I believe, will help support furloughed workers as they return to work. This includes, of course...
I thank the Minister for giving way, and as referenced in my speech, I am aware and grateful for the furlough scheme that the government have introduced. But what I'd just really like to know from the Minister is whether or not he will go to the Treasury and ask for that flexible furlough scheme that I mentioned in my speech, the ability to continue to furlough workers right through until spring 2021 so this industry can be there ready to take off again for the new summer orders.
I'm grateful for the Honourable Lady. The Chancellor has already announced the plans for the furlough scheme to come to an end in October. But all of our interventions, if you look at the way we've designed those interventions, they were designed to wrap our arms around the economy and jobs. As we come out of this crisis, the interventions have to be reviewed, which is why he reviewed the furlough scheme, and we review whether it's C bills, CL bills, the bounce back scheme, to make sure that the recovery is as robust and as dynamic as we can make it. The government has also provided extensive financial support to SMEs through the bounce back scheme that I've just mentioned, Madam Deputy Speaker. Over 830,000 loans, £35 billion has actually gone out of the door and into the bank accounts of the very smallest businesses in our country. And we have provided significant grant support to small businesses through the Small Business Grant Fund and Retail, Hospitality and Leisure Grant Fund. Over £10 billion has been paid out to businesses across the country since the launch of those grant schemes, with more to come. Small businesses across Hull and East Riding have benefited from nearly £118 million of grant investment to date. On flexible furloughing, I am aware that the Honourable Lady, together with her fellow Hull MPs, have written to the Chancellor, which she quite rightly highlighted in her remarks. The sector-focused approach to job retention scheme is what she's quite rightly pushing for. She'll be aware, as I have mentioned already, the Chancellor has extended the furlough scheme till the end of October and is being made more flexible. From the 1st of July, she knows that employers can bring back to work employees that have previously been furloughed for an amount of time, and any shift patterns that they would like, while still being able to claim the JRS grant for their normal hours not worked. After July, of course, we'll introduce more flexibility to the furlough scheme so that we move out of it in a measured and orderly way to protect people's incomes. On reopening of dealerships, I'm happy to take another intervention.
I thank the Minister. He has been very generous, as I remember from the Education Select Committee. But I just want him to, the Minister to just fully recognise the specifics of the caravan industry. At the point at which the furlough scheme is going to end is the point when the caravan manufacturing industry normally goes into a slower period, because it's a seasonal based manufacturing industry. They have more orders, they do more business through the summer months. The winter months have always been quieter and always been slower. So the reason why we're asking for sector specific is because as it stands at the moment, the furlough scheme will end just as the caravan manufacturing industry enters its usual low order and less production. This is why it needs to be sector specific. This is why the caravan industry does need to be looked at separately from other industries, because it's seasonally based.
I'm grateful for that. She repeats the point she made in her excellent speech in a powerful way. But the furlough scheme is only one of the interventions that we are making across the economy. As I said, we review all of our interventions because the profile of interventions, and she will know this, is very different when you're asking people to stay at home, protect the NHS and save lives, and therefore businesses are closing and furloughing people. The profile of interventions as you come out will be different, which is why we've reviewed them all and continue to do so and continue to stay close to the industry as well. That is what I can reassure her tonight. On dealerships, which she mentioned in her speech, and reopening of dealerships, the House will know that we reopened dealerships on the 1st of June to support these businesses to get back on their feet. Whilst residential caravan parks have remained open throughout the lockdown period, holiday parks have been closed in line with the wider restrictions on overnight stays for leisure purposes, Madam Deputy Speaker. Our ambition is to reopen caravan parks in step 3 of the government's recovery strategy. All decisions on reopening will of course be based on the latest scientific evidence and of course public health assessment. The government has engaged very closely with the holiday and home park sector to prepare guidance, as we have done on all other sectors. And it's great to see today non-essential retail open and so many wonderful stores in Stratford-on-Avon and around the country having wonderful, vibrant window displays and of course, applying all the safe working practices. And it will hopefully allow the sector to reopen safely and as quickly as possible. On business rate relief, an important point, the government has provided enhanced support to the retail, hospitality and leisure sectors through the rate relief system, given direct and acute impact COVID had on that sector. It is, of course, worth just reminding colleagues that it is up to the local authority to determine eligibility for reliefs, having regard to guidance issued by the government. So local authority have the power to offer business rates discounts beyond the predefined reliefs at their discretion. And I've spoken to, I think, 69 chief executives of local authorities. Many of my colleagues in the department have been making phone calls directly to talk to them about the discretionary funds as well available to them. Whilst other businesses that are not eligible for business rate relief, such as caravan leisure vehicle manufacturers, may be affected by COVID-19, those businesses will benefit from the wider business and employment support packages that I have set out. Of course I will.
Grateful to the Minister for giving way, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I don't expect an answer on the 2 chief asks immediately. Of course, the Minister will have to make representations to the Treasury. But I wonder whether he would be prepared to meet with the National Caravan Council and perhaps some of those manufacturers to discuss these specific asks.
I'm grateful, Madam Speaker. I'd be delighted to meet with them. Very happy to arrange it as soon as possible. And I will, after this debate, ask my officials to reach out to him to make sure we get that done. And the Honourable Lady is equally welcome. Actually, all colleagues here are welcome to join. The government has introduced the business rates holiday for businesses in the retail sector, of course, and leisure sector, irrespective of rateable value, so that all eligible businesses will pay no business rates for 12 months. And this means that properties used by caravan parks and sites are eligible for that relief. This support is worth almost £10 billion to business and means an estimated 350,000 businesses have benefited from this, Madam Deputy Speaker. For the billing authority of Hull and East Riding, this support is worth £82 million to business and means about 3,500 businesses. And I have to pay tribute to the local authority and leadership there for actually getting that money out of the door. They've done a phenomenal job, and I thank them for it. The Honourable Lady mentioned other stimulus and a sort of a range of stimulus which we look at what's happening in other parts of the world, including, of course, maybe a caravan scrappage scheme, the accelerated capital write-down and VAT, value-added tax measures that she mentioned. These are all, I think, interesting proposals. However, the Honourable Lady will understand that I cannot give any policy commitments now, or indeed speculate on or prejudge any further budget announcement by the Chancellor. She will, I'm sure, agree with me that is way above my pay grade. As we come through the current crisis, Madam Deputy Speaker, which we will, I have no doubt that the caravan industry in Hull and East Yorkshire and the United Kingdom can look to a bright future. It will be important that the sector innovates and responds to customers' high standards and aspirations, as it has done in the past, and it will do again and fully exploit that market potential. I have no doubt that the industry will rise to that challenge. And finally, Madam Deputy Speaker, I would like to thank the Honourable Lady and colleagues for engaging in this very important debate in a very important sector, and thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker, for your patience.
Thank you. What a polite debate. The question is that this House do now adjourn. As many as that opinion say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order. Order.